Okay, so within this short little presentation, I just want to cover a few of the main functions of carbohydrates, as we will for all macronutrients. The number one thing, as you clearly see highlighted here, is that carbohydrates are responsible for providing the largest amount of energy for our body to maintain all normal body processes. So within that, of course, it's converted to ATP. For carbs, you get 4 calories for every gram of carb you consume. When it comes to our body, we do have some ways that we can fuel cells if our carbs are not sufficient in the diet, and that really is this ketosis process. Our body can break down some fats and form what's known as ketones in order to fuel, let's say, the brain. It's not sufficient to provide all of our needs, and it's really not as efficient in providing our energy needs, but our body can adapt. It just takes some time to do so. Our body can also use protein in order to create some energy, and that process is known as gluconeogenesis. Gluco being the glucose, excuse me, neo being new, and then the creation. So the creation of new glucose is really this. But this is specific to non carbohydrate sources. So, for instance, we have tons of amino acids in our body if necessary because our carb intake is really low. Our body can take these amino acids and break them apart and use bits and pieces of them to form a small amount or a limited amount of glucose in order to fuel both our brain and red blood cells. Important to note, yes, our brain can use and adapt to things like ketones and also some protein that provides some glucose. But our red blood cells, they must get glucose in order to thrive and to survive. So this is essential. So if someone's glucose was to completely shut off because, let's say, lack of insulin, we can't use it, you would eventually experience things like a coma and death. So this image right here is a good representation of what's going on. In our one of our last classes, we talked about how our body has the ability to store up some extra carbohydrate sources. Plants store extra glucose as starch, and then we store our extra glucose as glycogen. It's going to be some in the liver, and there's also some within our muscle cells. Now, again, during periods of time when you're not eating, especially during the night, our body will go in, it will clip off little glucose cells, and then it will use that in order to fuel things like the brain and other essential functions within the body. If our body runs out, because we can deplete our bank completely, then our body is going to use some of the backup processes. That's that gluconeogenesis, where we're going to take those amino acids and then we'll take those structures, break them down, convert them into glucose so that it can still continue to provide some functions that are essential to life. And last but not least, we do have the ability to break down fatty acids, convert them to acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA can be changed into ketones, and ketones can be used to nourish the brain. However, ketones cannot help with the red blood cell production that has to come from glucose.